Hey guys, how are you going? It's VaulSC here. We're going to look at a game of infiNity between the combined army with Avatar against vanilla Nomads, and this will be the first game of the ITS tournament that I was in this weekend. Just a small tournament, 1 day, 3 games, 8 players only, but we will be playing Acquisition, Frontline, and Unmasking, and this first game, of course, will be on Acquisition. So I've drawn my opponent, Matt, again, and he's playing as Nomads. I must point out that the previous 2 bat reps I've put on my YouTube channel have been against Matt as well, so you might get a bit familiar with me playing against this particular opponent. I did win my previous 2 games against him, so feeling confident going into this. Matt, a little bit less experience with infiNity than myself, but I played him a lot in War Machine and Hordes, and he's picking infiNity up really quickly. I must say that although my a few bat reps against him recently have made it seem like a one-sided matchup, I do want to point out that I played a game against him where I was running 012 and he was running as Nomads, and I got absolutely stomped, absolutely thrashed. And I didn't actually post that YouTube video just because there was no point in that game where it was even in contention. Like, I was just getting stomped. There wasn't too much to learn from that. But hey, you know, my YouTube channel, I'm being selective. Showing games sometimes where I win and not showing games that I lose is a thing. I also have some games where it's a real stomp in my favor that I don't post either, so there is that too. But moving on. Game 1 of the tournament, combined army versus Nomads, and I looked at it and I thought, well, this mission, I've prepared the avatar list, let's see how it goes. So Matt running a variation of his Nomads, and again, keep forgetting to ask him for army codes and stuff like that. So what we've got here is just my vague recollection of some of the profiles that he was running on the day. So Heckler Red Fury is in there. Don't mind it. Obviously the Jammer is more popular, but I mean, the other profiles are still decent, so it's not like it's a terrible choice. Crackout Red Fury, one of my faves. Puppet Master, the basic SMG counterintelligence, just a really good pick in general. 2 Securitates because you want to disguise who the lieutenant is, that's fair enough. Moran, very, very good with the repeater and the crazy koalas, just an insane value, and it's a forward observer. 0 assault hacker, I don't mind it, it's very cheap. I run it myself in various lists when I'm playing Nomads and thinking about running it in foreign company. A couple of basic Jaguars which you kind of want because of the intruder synergy there, although arguably the Morlocks can do a similar thing, but Jaguar's still a very solid profile. Dactari's on bot, standard Stemplers on. I don't know if Nomads really need this guy as much, but again, it's a Stemplers on. It's a solid profile. Once more, Transductors on and Spectre multi-sniper. Excuse me. This is the only questionable piece. I think that if you've already got an intruder there to have that long-range ARO in place, then maybe you don't need the Spectre as much. I'd kind of like to see an HMG in this list. That's what's really lacking here. He's relying too hard on the Red Furies, which are really going to suffer if they happen to find a target long range on a very open battlefield. So I'm not saying the Spectre is a terrible profile on its own, but in the context of this list, I don't really like it. It's a very expensive piece. And not every table is going to have a really good position where you can infiltrate it and be a very good sniper on the top of a massive tower. If you infiltrate it, you just make yourself more of a target for shorter range guns, you know, combi and multi-rifles and stuff going up against you. And, of course, midfield skirmishes, putting mines nearby and hitting you with template weapons. Again, this is 288 points. I can't figure out where I've sort of got this wrong. I think there might be another 12-point model that I've missed. But have a look through the photos, and if you can figure out what I haven't added to his list, then maybe let me know. But yeah, so if you've watched the previous video that I posted yesterday, you will have seen my avatar list. I'm running Avatar, Spec Kilo, Kodali, and the Days of Mine Layer, plus a bunch of cheerleaders and a Kurgat. So let's talk about the game and see how it went. In lieutenant role, to begin, I rolled a critical success, and I said to him, I just got a crit on a 17, so straight away giving away what I'm playing, but I have to tell him I've got Strategos level 3 anyway, so I decided to stick with the plan, taking first turn, even though I often find that this is a mission we're better served for going second, because it's easy to move on to the objective at the end, but the plan is just to do so much damage with Kodali, to leave him so much, so little What am I trying to say? To leave him barely anything left at the end. And the vision is to sort of move the Avatar into the middle of the table, hit that objective right in the center, and leave him there for the Nomad's final turn, and just hope they don't really have enough to take him on. So there's the middle objective here. My deployment zone is going to be on this side, so this is where I'm going to be setting up. I've already got, in fact, the deployment zones are actually probably a little bit further out, like further up over here. It's a 16-inch deployment zone for this one. That's why they're so far out. So that's why you've got everybody hanging out up top. So the Krakot SMG over that side, picking up, I think, Total Immunity Dogged. My Dazer Mine Layer chap in the middle here, tucked in behind these little bits and pieces. The Dazer is right here, great spot for it because it's covering this huge zone of the table. And the Avatar is going to have the choice of hanging out around here, even up here, this kind of thing. And the Dazer is really going to make things problematic. This Nomad list is really going to struggle against the Avatar because snipers are going to be firing one shot at a time, which is not efficient, and the Red Furies are going to need to be fishing for crits on 3 dice because damage 13 is not going to be very good against Avatar and cover. So looking forward to this. We have the HVT out here, there's an R-drone here, another R-drone back here, Kurgat at the back, just hanging out somewhere to where the Avatar might be, so able to move up to this building, or over to here, just hopefully make himself useful. Icadron at the back, another Icadron is further over here, and another photo will be able to show that, and of course keeping their Avatar and Speculo in reserve. So there we go, a bit of a zoom in of the Dazer's position, this little grey icon that I've made nearby to our Shrouded. And there was the Icadron that I was talking about earlier on the far left. I am kind of worried about him dropping in with a Hellcat because in my last few games with him, he has been running that profile. And one problem for me would be if a Hellcat with HMG showed up and actually hit my Avatar with some sort of EM weaponry and shot my Kurgat. That would probably cost me the game, because mnemonica doesn't really help you if your lieutenant's been isolated, as far as I recall. So my opponent's deployment here, this is his right-hand side, shoving a lot of guys into a building. So we've got the Krakot Renegade here, obviously, Morlock, another Morlock down the right here. This is a Securitate Lieutenant Decoy. There's a Crazy Koala from the Moran, who's over in the other building, but still in range to place the Koala. So I think we'll zoom out to another pic. This is the picture I'm looking for, really, so let's move this up here. Okay, so we just talked about the Morlock, the Krakot, the other Morlock, the Securitate Decoy, the Stempler Zond right here. This is his Heckler Red Fury hanging out the back. I think that's his Puppet Master here, and this is his... this is the Puppet Master, and this is his Lieutenant Securitate, if I recall correctly. This Kamamaka here, can't quite remember what that actually was. Maybe it was a Puppet Master mine layer with that being a mine. Can't 100% remember, or that could have just been another zero. Can't 100% recall what that was. And then, of course, the Moran, represented by this beautiful Laxmi model from Aristia, which looks really, really cool. I think it's Laxmi anyway. Left-hand deployment for Nomads. We've got a Transductor Zond here, and the Assault Hacker right at the back. Not sure why he's got his Assault Hacker so far back when it would be useful hanging out somewhere towards this, because if he knows that he's up against an Avatar, having the Assault Hacker nearby to this region would be good for hitting the Avatar with an Oblivion or something to try and lock him in place before he reaches the objective. If you get lucky, that's a big swing. Jaguar over here, we've got a helper bot with the Dactari and the Intruder over here, and might I add, he's hidden deploying his Spectre Sniper there, rather than infiltrating it, so that's interesting. And of course there's a Crazy Koala out here. So that's his whole army. He can't put anybody in reserve. My Avatar's coming down right here after seeing that he's not really got too much to threaten me with. He's just going to hang out right at the front. 16-inch deployment again. Really useful, and of course the Dazer on this building going to be very hard to shift, and it's important to start the Avatar inside the Dazer zone because I don't want to move him and then stop the movement as he hits the area of effect, the radius. I want him to be able to go 4-4 through it until he leaves. Speculo, after looking for a lot of ways in, decided to just try and put him in the deployment zone next to my opponent's Intruder. So I'm just going to walk us back for a minute right to this picture over here. I was really hoping that what I could do is have the Speculo Killer deploy behind this building over here. and then move out towards this part of the battlefield, throw a smoke grenade here, then deploy Kodali and move her through the smoke to fire at this Morlock, move up the stairs, fire at this Krakok, get rid of him, get rid of this guy, get rid of this guy, and that would have been an amazing play with the Kodali Speculo combo. Can't quite do that though, because there is a crazy koala here, which I didn't want to encounter. I thought about running my Krakok towards this area to detonate it and then move Kodali and the Speculo in. But at the last minute, he decided to redeploy his Morlock quite wisely here, so it's actually looking down this area here, which makes things harder. So didn't really like that. And also there was a camo marker nearby, which I figured could have been a jammer. It actually turned out, as we saw later, to be a just under this position, under this rooftop here. Turned out to be a Heckler Red Fury, but in the off chance it was going to be a jammer, I decided not to commit to that play on this flank. So what we instead get is my attempt to put the Speculo behind the Intruder, which means that for the very first order I could go for a Discover Shoot combo, or if I decide to move something else out and he reveals the Intruder, I just walk straight into close combat with the Speculo. So that kind of prevents his Intruder from reacting if he wants it to live. It's sort of like in chess where you get like a pin where you sort of like move your bishop and it's threatening to take a knight, but if the knight moves away it'll be check kind of thing. That's the sort of thinking here really, is that the Intruder, if it moves or responds in any way, it breaks out of marker state and the Speculo can take it on. And I decided this was the way just to really chip away at him on this flank, because he's got his potential jammer and he's got his crazy koalas and stuff like that and his chain rifles on the other flank. So I'm going to try and chip away at this side first and then work my way around and possibly not even move Kodali onto the table first turn, because he has defended quite well and this is a very defensive Nomad list. But make the roll and I missed. Failed the willpower check with the Speculo, so I had to deploy it next to my deployment zone. So that's already off to a bad start. So thinking about it carefully about what I could do instead, I thought, well, I could make a run with the Avatar and do like 11 orders across the battlefield and try and shoot things. But I was worried about that, because if he had a lot of EM weapons, jammers, stuff that could come out in close combat and get me, I just really wasn't that keen. So I thought of a different plan, and that was to get the Shrouded with boarding shotgun out and just move him out here and moving him along here and just try and get to a point where he could actually threaten some of the models on this side of the table, potentially going this direction and taking out his Puppet Master and Securitates, maybe getting a lieutenant kill, or even moving up the stairs here to clear a path later for Kodali by eliminating the Intruder, Jaguar, that kind of thing. So camo marker moving out through the Dazer. Now, at this point, he does go for a reveal with his Intruder and tries to discover me, because as I'm moving across this side, I do come into line of sight. So he does decide to go for it, which I found interesting, and did manage to pull off the Discover. What that means is that the Avatar can then go after the Intruder. So this is what I was talking about. As soon as he reveals the Intruder, he's in trouble. But I realized that I'd made a bit of a mistake here, a bit of a misjudgment, because I'm having to shoot through my own Dazer field, which I don't ignore, and it turned out I was just out of range with the HMG. So Avatar's poking around here, firing at long range against camo and cover. He's a big whopping ballistical 15, but comes down to 6s on 3 dice, which is like, ugh. And the Intruder's firing back, needing like a 12 or a 13 on 1 dice. So what's the Intruder again? I can't remember. I think it's 13. It is ballistical 13. So 1 dice on 13 versus 3 dice on 6s. I still have a shot at it though, and luck prevailed here. So I've been unlucky with the Speculo, with the dice roll there, but I was lucky with the Avatar, and just managed to pull off a crit out of nowhere and destroy the Intruder. So that's a good start. Really happy about that. And now we can continue moving with the Shrouded. So, after doing that, of course, tactical awareness, moving on top of this this box here, just to give me more line of sight, because I thought at this point, with his Intruder sniper down, there's very little that can really attack the Avatar. So putting him in a really obnoxious position would be the way to go. I was a little bit worried about, again, an HMG showing up from airborne deployment and shooting me in the back. But even then, he's going down to 3 dice. The Hellcat won't be able to ignore ODD. I'm still armor 9, so I felt fairly confident even against that kind of scenario. Shrouded continuing to move out now and making some attempts to destroy this crazy koala, because I'm going to be wanting to move towards that part of the battlefield later and hit his Securitate and his Puppet Master to get some kills on the board. Having a couple of goes at that and eventually getting it. I'm also having to move through and take on the Transductors on with my shotgun, which does manage to eliminate him. There was a possibility of moving around here and taking on the camo marker, but I didn't know what the camo marker actually was. Could have been something with a direct template weapon, so just not sure. Decided not to do that. Did turn out that it was his assault hacker, so it didn't go that way. Instead, we're going to go this way and possibly take on some targets on that side. My opponent does see what I'm trying to do though, and reveals his Spectre with Sniper. So as I'm moving through with the Shrouded, the Spectre does come out of hidden deployment and fires at the old Shrouded, and does succeed in killing the Shrouded before I make it to the juicy backline. But in the process, I have taken out the Transductors on and the Crazy Koala, and of course the Intruders down as well. Over here with a coordinated move, just moving the Krakot back a little bit and turning around, just because I'm still worried about the positioning of a potential Hellcat with HMG, so just hanging out back here waiting for that to occur. With that same coordinated order, we're moving out with some other people here, re-impersonating the Speculo Killer, which is represented by this little dragon lady here, and just moving into better spots for later in the game. Here we are here, just coming a bit closer because we're going to be wanting to go towards this objective later on. That's the objective where you need to press a button and have something standing next to it, so I'm planning on doing that with these two models, the Drone and Speculo Killer. Cool. If I hadn't already pointed out, the avatar is the data tracker, and my opponent's data tracker is, I think, one of the Securitates, or maybe the Krakot, can't quite remember. So here we have some impetuous moves from his beautifully painted Morlocks, just running out here as well, throwing some smoke on the ground. Avatar actually having a go at this Morlock over here, and luckily for the Morlock, the smoke manages to defeat the very large explosive round. Actually, no, it doesn't. I think he takes a hit, but passes a couple of saves, so he goes into NWI, crazily enough. So more smokes come down, and the Morlock's just sitting up a position where this guy up top can actually jump from one platform to another, which is something you very rarely see in infiNity. I got the feeling that with the jump rules, they were designed for situations like this where you hop from one rooftop to another, like it's the Matrix or something like that. But it's very rare to see that very cinematic play, so quite cool. Morlock jumping from rooftop to rooftop, and more smokes going down to create a pathway to block off the avatar. So with that having happened, this Morlock jumping to the top of the stairs, putting down some more smoke, and he's just spending the entire turn getting to a spot where he can actually send this Morlock, who now goes prone and uses the railing of the bridge as cover against the avatar, who's in this direction, of course. So he's able to just crawl until he gets into close combat with this Krakot, just wanting to try and get a little bit of damage done, soften me up for later in the game when he can hopefully prevent the avatar from scoring. But we have Morlock versus Krakot action in close combat here, and what he does is he just moves right next to where the Krakot is, but without coming to line of sight, forces that change facing slash reset ARO, then comes into close combat and just sets up that potential close combat showdown. Elsewhere, his Red Fury Heckler is moving out towards the middle of the field, just setting up a better position for later in front of this pink container. Does not get viewed by the avatar. And then he decided to make a play which surprised me, and I think this is probably one of his major mistakes in the game, and that is to try and attack the avatar with his Spectre. And it's possible that he had forgotten that there was a Dazer there. Without a Dazer, he's firing at the avatar on 6s on 2 dice. Avatar's firing back on a 9 with 1 dice. So, you know, if you get really lucky, you can start putting some hits on him. He's armor 12, but you're up against a sniper with damage 15 double action rounds. So without the Dazer, it's sort of like a long sort of, you know, you feel like you're losing and you're trying to take risks to come back in the game. But with the Dazer there, it's really just suicide. 1 dice on a 6 against 1 dice on a 9. And if you win, the avatar is, you know, armor 12. So it's not a great look. And sadly for my opponent here, he loses the Spectre in his own turn due to this play, which, yeah, bit of a mistake. So sorry, Spectre, avatar too strong. And then putting some guys into suppression fire. So we've got Securitate, Puppet Master, and Stempler all going to suppression at the back line, and the Dactari on top of the little building here. Cool. Okay, so my turn 2, and this is where I decided to play Kodali. And seriously, looking around the battlefield for opportunities to bring on the side of the table, I just wasn't feeling it. And I figured if I drop her in the back line without even having any control jump, and I fail it, and she scatters off the table, then I'll bring her on my side of the table close to that combat where the Morlock is fighting the Krakot, and I'll just shoot into close combat, hopefully kill the Morlock. I would have been in position to fire at the other Morlock on that flank, kill those two, and just keep Kodali around in my deployment zone for providing an order for my final turn 3 push, and she could move out and set up suppression fire in that final turn as well. So that was the backup plan, but he has no hack transport, and Kodali just lands safe and sound. Just planting it. So I'd failed with a speculator land here, but Kodali does her one-up. What kind of language am I speaking? Does successfully manage to land here, and then it's all go. So Kodali easily able to move up and destroy the Jaguar at this point, going prone so that she can walk across the platform and get into better spots. This little poor old Nazmat guy here, Palbot, is not really able to do very much. And then Kodali is just basically going to go on a killing spree. So there's the Heckler Red Fury, which she's able to discover, or he's able to try a shot against her with the Red Fury. With her combi rifle, 3 shots, MSV2, Ballistical 14, really doing well. This Kamamaka deciding not to react, so we're ignoring that for the time being. I believe Kodali attempted to discover it at one point, but failed. But Heckler Red Fury goes down against Kodali's combi rifle. Then as she's moving forward, this is the moment at which I'm attempting to discover the Zero Assault Hacker, but failing, so Kodali's going to have to continue moving onward until she gets to this juicy position, where, as you can see, she can cut across, target this model first, destroy that, and then cut around here and destroy this model, and basically set up in the Nomads backline in a position which is just really terrible for them. So Kodali, as you can imagine, Ballistical 14, using either an assault pistol or a combi rifle, just the dream position, really, just blasting everything, and she does indeed do that, and sets up suppression fire in a really annoying spot too. So she can see around this way, she can see around this way, and the Avatar, of course, is covering down here and down here, so Nomads are looking pretty boxed in at this point. Over this side, we have a impetuous close combat when it's Nomad's turn 2 between the Morlock and the Krakot, and they both destroy each other, so that's what's happening on the stairs. Just imagine it was covered in blood. The other Morlock moving up and throwing a smoke grenade around here just to stop the Avatar from firing through and killing her, so she does manage to preserve her own life at this point. Elsewhere, we have the Stemplazond going after Kodali in suppression fire. This is a bit of a desperate tactic because Kodali, a better gunfighter than the Stemplazond, and Kodali does rip up the Zond in this situation with her combi rifle. The Krakot Renegade with its Red Fury moving out to do the exact same thing, going after Kodali in desperation. Krakot does not have cover, so not great odds going up against Kodali yet again, and Kodali takes him down as well, which is kind of funny. Kodali just really on an absolute tear this game. The Moran having a go at it. Moran just pulling over here, getting to cover, and then peeking over and taking on Kodali, but not even the Moran can take her on. Kodali just too strong in suppression here and rips him up as well. So that pretty much shuts everyone down. And in the final Avatar turn, we're of course making a break for it, moving over to this this middle objective. Taking a moment to shoot at the Morlock in the distance as we do so, eliminating him. That's quite important because I wouldn't want the Morlock coming over here, throwing a smoke grenade, and then coming inside and just touching the objective as the Avatar's there, because that would cost me 5 points. So Avatar setting up, Kurgat and Speculo moving towards this objective, pressing the button on it with the Kurgat, so hanging out here. Importantly, the Speculo is touching it but in marker state, and the Kurgat hanging out here. So if he sends anybody towards me here, I'm going to reveal the Speculo and defend and hopefully slow him down, and the Kurgat's just going to be tucked in here to control this objective. So that's the final combined turn. We've also got a little flashball spot covering the other objective in case he can't make it to that as well. And over here, Kodali is resetting her position just to regain suppression fire and cover this whole ground in front of the Avatar, just in case that wasn't enough. And as a final desperate last move from our Nomads, over here we've got this camo marker coming out, moving towards me, and moving over here. Most people are declaring a discover against this, and it does turn out to be a Nomad assault hacker, moving out into the midfield, as we can see. Decides to just throw a combi rifle shot at the Avatar, hilariously, because hey, I mean, if you're all 3 crits, Avatar just dies, and you don't take a major loss, but you still lose. So anyway, Nomads defeated here quite soundly by the Avatar. I was a little bit unlucky with my Speculo, but very unlucky, very lucky with my Avatar's shooting, and Kodali just went on an absolute blitz of a run. So brilliant Kodali game in terms of the dice. And we move into the second round with a really big, massive victory. So that props me to the front of the field. And we'll be going up against some Rama Task Force next game on Frontline. So stick around to see how that goes in the next bat rep.